Nice. I think we're live. So, yeah, July office hours, sweaty edition. The agenda is pretty light, so I don't think we really need to share. And it's just us today, so I think we could skip the introduction round and just like go straight to the only item, which Kai got. It's an update about CSEX. Yeah. You're on mute.
And I have to share the slides and figure out if I do it full screen or not. Sorry, one moment. Probably not full screen then.
Please let me know if you run into trouble sharing. I can share if that helps.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will just share the window now to be able to see you while doing so. Yeah, so the idea was to give a small high-level overview again about our plans for Flatcar in regard to how the OS is composed or composable and how users can extend it. And that's why it's now called composable image-based OS plans. The main topic will be system view sysext and what we are doing with that. Yeah, so quick recap. Flatcar releases are consisting of the generic image that we release and the OEM images that have an additional OEM partition populated with some software that the different vendors require. For example, on VMware, these tools are necessary. And then we also have the ability to customize the image with talks where you can supply a different Docker version. And of course, you can always use /opt and put your binaries there for custom software that you want to have on the host. Problems are that we don't have updates for the OEM partition and all these binaries and config files that are there. Talks is a bit too specific for Docker, and like you can use it for other software, but it doesn't really integrate that well either. And that's why it's more like a dead end. And yeah, as I said, regular way of customizing is you put binaries on /opt, for example, through Ignition or Ansible. And then how do you update all these binaries? With Ansible, you can somehow do it, but still all things could linger around then if you update your Ansible and it doesn't remove the old stuff. So the solution we wanted to embrace was an upstream idea for system-based sysext as components that you can use with like brought by systemd to load system extension images overlaid over /usr. So everything you bring in this image will appear under /usr as if it was part of the base image. And yeah, so this allows for deep changes in /usr that are normally not directly doable if you just have to put things under /opt, for example. And another benefit is that it has robust and simple updates through the single image files that you, so that you have these extension image files and you can replace it with a newer version, and all these files bundled in it are directly updated and you don't have any old files around. And these extension image files are either bound to the OS version. So for example, if you want to benefit from dynamic linking, or they're independent from the OS version, and then you have to bring your own libraries. And applications for application areas for Flatcar are like for once this extension of the base image by user-supplied host-level software instead of putting it directly into /opt, for example, as scattered binaries. And that also replaces talks because it's generic enough that we don't need talks anymore then. Then we also want to bundle the OEM software so that we can update it easily as part of the Flatcar AB update mechanism. And the last area is official Flatcar extensions that are also then AB updated. For example, there could be a Kubernetes extension or some compiler as we do with a dev container where you compile your kernel modules and so on. So first, I don't have to do it too long for you. What's systemd-sysx? So as I said, it's a basic management utility for making this transparent file system overlays. So you have a certain amount of images then stacked on your original /usr partition. And you can also extend /opt the same way. And so what's in the systemd-sysx image normally? It's a read-only file system image, but you can also, for testing purposes, use a directory that you overlay mount. But normally it's what we want to have is a single file image. It can be a better image, it can be ext4, but normally maybe a squashfs because we don't really need it to be mutable and we benefit from the best compression. It contains all these dependencies that it needs. For example, when we have a Python systemd-sysx image for Flatcar, then it would bring the whole Python binary and all these other files, and then you can use Python on Flatcar. And how do we build these systemd-sysx images? We put all the binaries and dependencies into a directory that looks like the target root. So you have these /usr and lib folder and so on. But in the end, only usr and opt will be used of this directory tree. And then you have to specify some metadata, whether this systemd-sysx image is bound to as well as version or not. And then you bundle it up as squashfs, for example, and copy it over to /etc/extensions and run systemd-sysx refresh. So, and that's already possible as of now for Flatcar stable, where you can supply your own host level software. We have docs for that. We have build helpers for some cases already, Docker upstream binaries and containerd upstream binaries. Some other small examples like Wasentime upstream binary as well. And you would then have to host it somewhere and use this for at provisioning time, for example, with this butane config. And so after provisioning, what you can do is you can also do live updating. For example, the systemd-sys update, that's now part of alpha, or you have some custom script that downloads and replaces these images. Also good to know is that Flatcar has a workaround, and that workaround currently allows you to start systemd units through these regular enabled, once enabled symlinks that systemd creates when you enable and disable units. But the recommendation is to use .uphold symlinks that have a different semantics. They always ensure that the unit is running because .once only works when the system starts up and reads, like it starts a systemd target, and afterwards it wouldn't react anymore. So in the latest system version, not part of Flatcar, that's a bit nicer to use, but for now we use droplins for the targets. And another caveat is that we don't have a nice way to support UDEF rules or other early boot settings like kernel module parameters, because they are not applied when you live reload sysext, or if it's currently, as of now, loaded after all these UDEF rules and so on were first read. And an upstream solution could be that we apply this overlay mount already from the initRD, but still, if you want to live reload all these things, it will be tricky and you need some workarounds. So it's like, yeah, not perfect, and you always need to know what you're doing then in the end. Yeah, and the other use case that I mentioned for Flatcar is that we bundle and update the OEM software. The update server will provide update payloads for the OEM sysx images. The migration from the old OEM partition will only take place when both the old inactive partition /OSR partition has support for sysx image and the current one that is booted into, and only then we will remove the old OEM files. And yeah, that's currently work in progress. Alpha has a preview for Azure, but updates are still missing there. And yeah, now this more interesting topic maybe is official Flatcar extensions. What can we do there? So yeah, first step is that soon Docker on Flatcar will be a sysx image, but still part of the base image. So you can kind of decide not to load it, and then Docker won't be around at all. But yeah, with this mechanism of having update payloads that are sysx images and yeah, a way of provisioning new sysx images on demand on boot, we can, for example, easier say that we want to support new software that we would not directly have in the base image normally. So, for example, it's easy now to say, let's make a Podman sysx, for example, and will be always released together with Flatcar and updated together. And then yeah, download it either on provisioning time, or you have to prepare a custom image to put it there if you don't have internet. Another interesting extension could be Kubernetes binaries. Yeah, there we could also say we want to have it as part of the Flatcar release or released independently so that you can update them on your own pace through systemd sys updates. It's a typo here. And a proof of concept was planned to have Kapi image building, that's cluster API. Instead of with Ansible and Packer, we would try to have a script that prepares a systemd sysx image and see how you can then have a nicer way of updating existing nodes. And as mentioned, other official extensions that we could explore are, for example, one with a compiler that you can compile kernel modules instead of using the dev container. And yeah, of course, once this box is open, we could also discuss what is in the base image and move certain things out that are not so often used. For example, SSHD, Kerberos stuff, maybe even Git. We have TCP dump normally around, but that could also be something that gets moved out. So all up for discussion then. Yeah, small bonus section. So I didn't speak about it, but there's also systemd confx, only available in the latest version of systemd, currently release candidate. It also handles overlay images, but for /etc instead of USR and opt. It has yeah, the benefit that you can bundle all the configuration, and then you also have this nice way of robust live updating single files. And yeah, but it needs a mutable mode to be more useful. Otherwise, we have a read-only /etc, and more work is pending upstream. On a similar note, if you want to use systemd sysx outside of Flatcar, you would have a read-only /USR overlay mount. That doesn't work well with traditional distros, where you have a package manager that wants to write to /USR. Here as well, we need this mutable mode where upstream work didn't start yet. Okay, that's it. Stop sharing. And yeah, would be interested in your opinions.
Really looking forward to that. But oh, then yeah, sorry.
I wanted also to clap, but I raised my hand.
You raised your hand. Yeah, yeah, that happens. Particularly when you presented the slides and you mentioned the dev container, it just occurred to me that that would shrink the dev container considerably, right? Because it's shipping a whole Flatcar and compilers on top, and we only need the compilers, which would be included in a SysEx. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's also the topic of debug symbols, of course. They could also be a sysx image, or you. Now, normally, I think recommended nowadays to use this HTTP endpoint where we would host them somewhere. For GDB, that works, but for systemd core dump, I'm not sure if that is possible to use this HTTP endpoint. So that's why it could be beneficial to have a sysx image for systemd core dump, maybe.
Thanks for the presentation. I just have a quick question. When I worked a bit with a systemd code base and contribution upstream, I have a question. When you have multiple extension in slash extensions or in the place where you're supposed to put the extension, for now, it seems it's not possible to select which extension you want to mount. It mounts everything. For example, if you have every 2 or 3 images in slash etc slash extension and you run the sysex merge, everything will be merged, and you're not able to select which one you want to merge.
Yeah, there's currently no masking command, but you can use, for example, in the highest, in the most important sub folder that is supported for looking up these images, you can make a same named entry and it would kind of mask the image, but there's no nice tooling for that yet.
Yeah, I think we brought this up with upstream, and they also recommended to store sysex elsewhere and then just use symlinks for activating and deactivating them. That would work too. And I mean, if the need arises, if sysex become more widespreadly used, I think they'll grow tooling around that.
Yeah, the way of using a symlink is maybe also interesting if you use systemd sysupdate, and then you have a way of managing the different versions and so on, and they would have a version suffix then. But the extension itself shouldn't have a suffix because it's always the same extension. And then you need the symlink anyway.
So maybe we can already reflect this in the documentation to show how to use the symlink when you import an image. Because currently we just put it into the directory. If we want to give the good habit.
Yeah, the docs are missing systemd sysupdate completely. So that's something we can now add as it is in alpha now, Flatcar alpha. Okay, yeah. So any more ideas about this composable topic and having Flatcar extensions and so on, and what extensions are worth to have, not to have, maybe even? Okay, I personally find it difficult to say that Podman should not be on the base image because it's making it a bit easier if you have it on the base image for many use cases. But I think it makes really sense to leave it outside and only put, for example, you have this user namespace feature, right? And you need certain allocation of user IDs already inside /etc. Otherwise, it won't work to have multiple users available in the user namespace for an unprivileged user. And so I think certain things are better done on the base image, like this setup, for example, of the user IDs, or for example, when we have an OEM like DigitalOcean, where there's no configuration, no additional software needed, we could maybe also decide to move things to the base image and not have this overload of too many SysEx images that we would have to build and sign, and in the end there's almost nothing in there.
So I guess there are no more questions or ideas. Okay, so how about we go to the next topic? And so we have the regular release planning review. That means it's you, Sam.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, very well. You can see it.
Okay, so we did a release last week, and which had a couple of the packages getting updated because we have the package updates getting merged. So the next release that is getting planned is on 17th July. That is like we will start the builds this Friday, and then have the release over in the next week. So for this week we also have a package, a weekly update that is merged, so expect a bunch of packages getting updated. We also have a couple of container D 1.7.2 getting merged. We which was pending for a very long time, and then few of them are in the pipeline. So if you folks are planning to work on a package update, do feel free to pick these items. The few of them would be handled in the weekly updates, but few are not. Like this has for example, the shadow is not tracked in the weekly update, so we would like to get that updated. From the other side, on other hand, like we have most of the team working on the SysEx stuff, so you will see a lot of the in progress items covering the SysEx work. We have a blocker and alpha on the update of the SysEx stuff, so we will probably be working on that before updating, doing a major alpha release. But that's mostly what is it that basically the team is working on, focusing their energy on getting system D6 users better. And I personally would continue working on getting the release so basically this week I'll be planning to work on getting the release flow a bit more streamlined, so that it's easier to contribute in a better manner. Other than that, I don't think there is any more to update, but folks, if you have anything to add, to let me know. Yeah. If not, then I'll Daniel.
Sorry, the unmute button got, I don't know, hidden. Cool. So I guess that's all for this week. Anything else? Any other topics that anyone wants to bring up before we wrap up? Alrighty. So enjoy the rest of your day.
So,
Okay,
bye.
see you. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Danielle. Bye.